Could you see the screen, CR?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. मुझे आपने ये बताना है कि ये हमने तकरीबन लैब में ही ये कवर कर ली थी, ये थ्री रिपोर्ट है ना, एशियर सेंटर वाला, ठीक है। तो
यस सर,
मेरे
इसमें
फ्रेंड,
हमने कुछ डिस्कस किया था।
हाँ, तो इसमें से अगर किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन है तो वो मुझसे पूछ सकता है। इफ समवन इज हैविंग एनी क्वेश्चन एंड फ्रॉम हियर ही कैन रेज द हैंड एंड आस्क द क्वेश्चन। एनीबॉडी? अच्छा सीआर, आपका एक क्वेश्चन था, आपको मेरे मैसेज आया था रिगार्डिंग क्लास स्केड्यूल और कोर्सेज के बारे में ना। So I want to clear one thing. Actually, during your psychomotor assessment, that doesn't mean that you will not have theory lectures. So the psychomotor assessment will be concurrent to the theory classes. So in that 3 week, you will also have theory classes. Okay. So theory classes, maybe we will plan that theory classes maybe on campus in that 3 week time, so that the student they may have also interaction with the teacher. So if you will have some more questions, so you can ask the question teacher physically. So you got it?
ओके सर।
ठीक है। तो इस 2 वीक में जो है हमारे वो सिर्फ ऑनलाइन लेक्चर होंगे, फिर उसके बाद जब साइकोमोटर में आएंगे तो फिर उसमें से कुछ आपकी 1.5 वीक क्लासेस डॉक्टर कासिम के साथ होंगी, एंड फॉर 1.5 वीक यू विल हैव द क्लासेस विद मी। ओके। अच्छा, so this week actually we are very busy here in the university because we are having Pakistan Engineering Council accreditation visit. So the slide that I have sent you already. So how many students they have watched the videos? Please raise the hand. How many students have watched that videos? Please raise the hand. Only CR. बाकी नीचे मेरे ख्याल में किसी स्टूडेंट ने की होगी। Zishan Ali. Zishan Ali, please respond.
Yes, sir.
So you haven't watched the video yet?
No, sir. Sorry, sir.
Why? No problem. So have you downloaded the videos?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, please watch all the videos, and whatever the question you have, please write down so that you could ask me in the coming lectures, or maybe when we will have psychomotor assessment week, so you can ask me these questions physically. Okay, Mr. Ruhan, Deputy
Okay,
CR.
sir.
Mr. Ruhan, so-called Deputy CR. Mr. Rohan, are you online? CR इसको नोट करो, ये एब्सेंट मार्क करो इस स्टूडेंट की। 16 जून 2021 ये सिर्फ ऑनलाइन है, बस और
ओके
बस बाद में से हो गया। ये है मुगन्निम रहमान। मुगन्निम रहमान, प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड इफ यू कैन हियर मी। ये भी नहीं है। हसन सुबहान, हसन सुबहान, हसन सुबहान, ये भी नहीं है। एंड असद रहमान। ओके स्टूडेंट, प्लीज अनरेज द हैंड, अनरेज द हैंड। Student, please unraise the hand. Okay, student, I would like to clear one thing. So regarding the shear center, so when you study the characteristics of shear center, so shear center always exists at the intersection of center line of all elements. For example, you are having T section. So in case of T section, if center line of all elements they intersect at one point, so the shear center will be the intersection point. But if you will have doubly symmetric section, so in case of doubly symmetric section, the centroid will be the shear center. But in case of channel section, the shear center will be this point, this junction point, because that is the intersection of center line of this vertical leg and this horizontal leg. So that's why even though we are having centroid over here, so we do not apply the load along centroidal axis, because if we will apply the load at centroidal axis, so it will cause the twisting along with bending. So that's why in most of the books, if you will find the loading, so load is acting at the center point, and load is passing through the center line of this vertical leg. So that's why, for example, when we study the unsymmetrical bending, so in unsymmetrical bending case, like for example, in this case, to avoid the twisting, load must be passing through this center line, the intersection of this flange and web. So if the load is passing through the centroid, so even though the load is passing through the centroid, so this will bend along with twisting. Similarly, for the angle section, the correct loading to avoid the twisting is it should be acting through the center line of this vertical leg. If the load is acting here, so it is acting at certain eccentricity from here center. So it will twist along with bending. So you will have some extra bending stress. So that you will clear up. So here center of this Y section is over here. And here center of this Z section will always be at the centroid, because the distribution of the area is even though that is not symmetrical section. So now today we are going to discuss the solution of this problem. And before discussing the solution, I would like to, okay, later on, I will download it and later. So this is the problem, and we are going to determine location of shear center of this canal section numerically. So we are given this channel section. So for this channel section, you cannot use this formula to determine the shear center. Which formula? Uh, this one. Because this formula is only applicable for the shear center of this conventional channel section, which is having uniform thickness. But for this problem, we cannot use that expression, because here in this channel section we are having some projected portion also. So this is we are also having this projected portion. So since the location of shear center is independent of applied load, so you can consider any applied load, even you can consider this load equal to V or any constant value. But in this problem, this load is given 100 kilonewton. So we need to determine the location of shear center of this channel section if applied load is acting 100 kilonewton downward direction. If the load is 1, the answer will be remain same. If even the load is 1000 or maybe constant value, so it is not going to change the answer. So in the very first step, we need to understand the given information. So in this channel section, center to center distance between top flange and bottom flange is 200 millimeter. Distance from the right side edge to the left side edge is 110 millimeter. Channel is having uniform thickness 10 mm. Distance from this free edge tip to the center of the junction is 50 millimeter, or if you will add half of the thickness, then distance from the end of this tip to the top surface is 5 millimeter. So all dimensions are in millimeter. So using the concept of shear, having shear stress formula, you will have also the B value or the thickness here. So the formula, the expression for shear flow is V cube over I. V is the resisting shear, which will be equal to the applied force. I is the moment of inertia of the entire cross section. Q is the static moment of area under consideration, of partial area, which can be written as a partial area and moment arm of partial area with respect to neutral axis. Since the load is acting in vertical direction, so the moment will produce about x-axis. So we need to compute the moment of inertia about x-axis. And partial area may have any width and thickness, and moment arm we have to determine accordingly. Okay, first of all, we need to determine the moment of inertia of this net section. So you can determine by considering the area by part, or you can determine the moment of inertia of the gross area, and then you can subtract the moment of inertia of this rectangular and this internal rectangular or this hollow area to determine the moment of inertia of the net area. So since centroid of this complete rectangular, x-axis and x-axis of this complete rectangular, x-axis of this internal hollow area, and x-axis of this area, they are lying along the same line. So their centroids are lying along the same axis. This means that you can simply subtract the moment of inertia of this rectangular and this rectangular from the total rectangular, and then you can compute the net moment of inertia. So total width of this rectangular is 110, and total height will be 200 plus half thickness from the one side and half thickness from the other side. So total depth will be 210. So moment of inertia of the entire rectangle will be V d cube divided by 12. So 110 into 210 cube divided by 12 minus moment of inertia of this rectangular, which is gray in color. So this width will be, total is 110. If you subtract this thickness from the one side and one thickness from the other side, then this width will be equal to 90. So thickness of the element is 10. 90, and depth will be 200 minus half thickness from here, half thickness from this side, so that will be 190. So minus 90 into 190 cube divided by 12. And similarly, minus the moment of inertia of this rectangular. So total depth from here to here is 210 minus 55 from the one side, 55 from the other side. So width will be equal to 100, and 10 is the thickness. So 10 into 100 cube divided by 12. So net moment of inertia will be 32.617 into exponent 6. Okay, next. First of all, whenever you are dealing this type of the problem, so actually you need to plot three things. First of all, you need to show the direction of the shear flow, in which direction the shear is flowing. by using the analogy of water flow. So we are assuming that applied load is acting downward directly and answer. So anyhow, if the shear flow in this web is acting upward, so by using the analogy of shear flow, flow is always unidirectional. The total shear flow coming at point E should be equal to total shear flow leaving point E. So from E, the flow is moving upward. It means that flow is coming from F to E. So direction of the shear flow will be over here. And similarly, direction of the shear flow from C to B will be like this. And similarly, if you know the direction of the shear flow from F to E, then it means that flow is coming from E to F. And similarly, flow is moving from B to E because flow should be one directional. So this we have plotted by using the concept of the water flow. So that's why that is called shear flow. So just a minute, I have to pick a call. So if somebody is having any question in the meantime, he can ask. So next is we will determine the shear flow at different points. So we are simplifying this formula. So shear flow is VQ over I. So in this formula, the shear flow V shear applied shear which is equal resisting shear which is equal to the applied shear, that will be constant. Moment of inertia will be constant. And Q static moment of area, that will be depending upon the partial area. Partial area means at what point I am considering the cutting section or cutting layer. So after substituting the shear value which is given 100 kilonewton, we are multiplying with the exponent 3 to convert into Newton, and we are dividing with the moment of inertia, so we are having this simplified expression. So next is, we know that shear flow is generated at free end tip on the one side of the neutral axis, and it is consumed on the other side of neutral axis at free end tip. And when more area is contributed, when area is being added from free end tip to neutral axis, so shear flow is keep on increasing. So shear flow is always maximum at neutral axis, and then on the other side it start reducing and until it becomes zero at the free end tip on the other side of neutral axis. So if free end tip doesn't exist, then I told you that we need to consider the point where which is lying along the axis of symmetry. So shear flow generated at free end tip or at axis of symmetry on the one side of neutral axis, and it is consumed at free end tip and or the point which is lying along axis of symmetry on the other side of neutral axis, and it becomes maximum at neutral axis because area is being added up from free end tip to the neutral axis. So what we will do, since we are dealing with this symmetrical section, so whatever is the shear flow on the one side of the neutral axis, same will be the shear flow on the other side, because we are dealing with this symmetrical section which is symmetrical about x-axis. So first of all, we shall determine the shear flow at point A, free and tip. So our formula will be shear flow at point A will be 3.066 into exponent 3. That is the constant parameter, and that is the static moment of area QA. So we need to consider the first moment of area at point A. So if it means that when we are considering the point A, so thickness of cutting layer will be equal to this layer. So thickness will always be equal to the minimum dimension. So this thickness. So I want to determine the shear flow or the shear stress at this layer. So partial area below this layer, we do not have any partial area below this layer because we can consider the moment of area either on either side of cutting layer. So on above side of the cutting layer, we are having entire area. We are having entire area. But on bottom side, we do not have any area, so QA will be equal to 0. So that's why shear flow at point A will be equal to 0. So I have also written a reason because no partial area exists at bottom side. Next is we would like to determine the shear flow at point B. So when I want to determine the shear flow at point B, so I need to consider the area starting from point A to the B. So I will use the contribution of the area from A to B. So I will assume the cutting layer over here at point B with respect to this projected length. Okay, thickness of this area will be equal to thickness of this projected portion. So thickness will always be perpendicular to the length of the area. So thickness will not be entire equal to this line. So thickness I'm considering with respect to this projected portion. So shear flow at B will be equal to this parameter is constant contribution of area from A to B or static moment of area from A to B. So shear flow at B can be computed by considering the partial area either on this side or on this side. So I will consider this area because that is smaller in magnitude. This area, so please note that I am determining the shear flow at the center of element. So shear flow is always determined and plotted through the center line of element. So that's why I'm determining at this junction. So shear flow with respect to this projected portion of land can be computed by this expression QAB. So for your simplification, uh, I don't have any space, but I will write. So partial area, so length of this area will be from A to B, which is equal to 50 millimeter. Length from LAB will be equal to from free and tip to this junction, center of this junction, which is equal to 50, and thickness of this area is equal to 10. And then moment arm of
Yes, sir.
okay, could you see the screen? Yeah.
सर अब यस सर
ठीक है। अच्छा मुझे बताना है कि मैं कहाँ पे था ये तो ये मैंने पॉइंट भी एक्सप्लेन कर दिया था, नहीं किया था, तो मैं स्टार्ट कर दूं दोबारा से
सर हम पॉइंट बी पे डिस्कस कर रहे थे
अच्छा,
कैलकुलेशन।
ओके ओके ओके, I will explain it. Okay, dear students, next point is that we need to determine the shear flow at point B. So shear flow at point B with respect to this projected portion. So if we want to determine the shear flow at point B, so we need to assume the cutting layer. So cutting layer will be perpendicular to this length of this element. And thickness of the cutting layer will always be equal to thickness of this element. So here, this parameter is constant. So it means that if I want to determine the shear flow at point B, so I need to determine static moment of area on either side of this cutting layer. So I will determine at the bottom side because that area is less in magnitude, so that will have less computation effort. So QAB will be equal to partial area of AB and moment arm of this AB with respect to neutral axis. So length AB will be equal to 50 and thickness of this area from A to B is 10. 50 into 10 is the area and 75 will be the moment arm of this AB area with respect to neutral axis. Distance from the neutral axis to the point A at this tip is equal to 50, and we just need to add extra distance from this free end tip to the centroid of this area. So the total length is 100. So centroid will be at a distance of 50 from this point A. So sorry, 25, because total length is 50. So centroid is at a distance of 25 from point A. So 25 plus 75 will be the movement arm of this area AB with respect to neutral axis. So I have written over here. So the shear flow at point B is 115. If after computing or calculating this parameter, so shear flow at point B is 115 Newton per millimeter. Shear flow at point A is 0 and the shear flow at point B is 115, because when we are moving from A to B, so the area is being increased from A to B, so shear flow is increasing when we are moving from A to B. But the next question is that what will be the distribution over here? So this variation will be parabolic. So shear flow at point A is 0 and it is increasing in parabolic fashion when we are moving to point B. Why it is moving increasing parabolically? So we have discussed that the element of this section which is parallel to the applied force. So applied force is downward parallel to this. So the variation will be parabolic. Why? Because when we are moving from A to B, so when we are moving from A to B, so length of this area is increasing or changing, and movement arm it is also changing. So we are having second degree change. So with the increase of area, movement arm is increasing and length of area is increasing with constant thickness. So it means that the change will be parabolic or second degree. Just like maybe I would like to frame here. If you watch this derivation, so when we consider this web portion, so in this web, when area dy is changing, so moment arm is also changing. So you will see that the shear stress or shear flow, because if you are dividing the, sorry, multiply the shear stress by thickness of the layer, you will have the shear flow. So y is second degree on this portion which is parallel to the applied force, because with the increase of area, so y is changing as a second degree. Or maybe I would like to explain by another way. let me, yes, here. So this static moment of area is changing. Here, when I'm moving from 0 to this B, so this Y momentum is also changing and B is also changing. So they are two variables. Both are maybe Y. So if we are multiplying one variable with the another variable, so their powers being are added up. So shear flow is increasing parabolically on a portion which is parallel to the applied force. So shear flow is increasing from 0 to 115 Newton per millimeter when we are moving from A to B. So this will be the variation. So you need to catch this distribution or variation of the shear flow along this element. Okay, next is shear flow. We know that total shear flow coming at point B is equal to total shear flow leaving the point B. So at the junction, whatever the shear flow is coming, they will be equal to shear flow which is leaving the point B. So this is the shear flow at point B with respect to this projected portion. So shear flow at point B with respect to this flange will also be equal to 115. So shear flow at point B with respect to flange is 115. So shear flow at point C can be determined by adding the contribution of area from B to C in the shear flow that we have already computed at point B. Or you can compute the contribution of the entire area from A to C. So we are solving the problem by part. We have already computed the contribution of point AB, length area AB. Then we can simply compute the shear flow at point C by adding the contribution of area from B to C in the shear flow that we have already computed at point B. So total shear flow at this junction with respect to flange is 115 because shear flow coming is should be equal to shear flow leaving. And QBC is the contribution of area from B to C. So this parameter is constant. So when we are assuming the cutting layer here, so cutting layer thickness of the cutting layer will always be perpendicular to the length. So length is CB. So thickness of the cutting layer will be equal to the thickness of this portion. So we need to add the value of this area. Length from C to B is equal to 100 millimeter. Thickness is equal to 10 and movement arm will be equal to 100. Distance from the center of this area to the neutral axis will be 100 because total distance from center of the top line to the bottom line is 200. So half will be 100. So when you compute this parameter, this answer will be 306.6. So 306.6 indicate the contribution of shear flow from the contribution of the area from B to C. And 115 is the contribution of the area from A to B that we have already computed. The total shear flow at point C will be 421.6. And here, if you will plot the distribution, it will be like this. Because total shear flow at the junction is equal to the total shear flow which is leaving the junction. So shear flow at point B with respect to projected portion will be equal to shear flow with respect to this line. So shear flow at point B is 115 because shear flow coming at the junction should be equal to shear flow leaving at the junction. Total shear flow at point C is 421.6. So shear flow is increasing linearly from 115 to 421.6. So if you sketch a horizontal line So this horizontal uniform distribution indicate the contribution of the AB. That will be remain constant if we are moving from B to C. So the contribution of area from B to C is increasing from 0 to 306.6. So distance from here to here is 30.6. Okay, why this variation is linear? Because when we are moving from B to C, so movement arm will be remain constant. Thickness will also remain constant. So only length is increasing. For example, uh, just for your understanding, I will modify it later, or maybe should I sketch? Yes. Okay, let's go if you are considering this area. For this area, thickness is 10 millimeter, and for this area also, maybe it is having the half flange width. The movement arm is also 100 because distance from the center of the area is constant. So it means that when we are considering either full area or partial area, so only the length is changing. So change is only 1 degree. So it means that with the increase of the area, when we move from B to C, so only the length of area is increasing. So shear flow is single degree function of area. So variation is linear. So we have already discussed that shear flow on the element which is perpendicular to the applied shear or resisting shear will undergo linear distribution. So that is the linear. So I have plotted the distribution of shear flow from B to C. This will be like trapezoidal. So if you are not having this projected portion, then you will have shear flow 0 and you will have the maximum here. Then it will be 0 here and 306.6 over here. Because you do not have this projected portion, so you will not have the contribution of this projected portion. Just like here. So shear flow at the free end tip will be 0. When we are moving to the junction, so it will be increasing linearly. So it is 0 here because we do not have the projected portion. So we do not have the shear flow coming from the projected portion. So free end tip is here. So in this case, it will be 0 to some maximum value over here. So shear flow at the junction with respect to flange will be equal to shear flow at the junction with respect to web. Okay, next is let me correct the animation. Okay, now I want to determine the shear flow at point D. So I have already computed the contribution of the area from A to C by parts because first I consider the contribution of the area AB, then from B to C. So if I want to determine the shear flow along the neutral axis, so thickness of the cutting area will be this one. So I need to consider the entire partial area starting from A to D. But we have already computed the contribution of area AB and BC by part. Which means that whatever the shear flow you have computed at point C, if you will add up the contribution of area from C to D, that will be the total shear flow or which is acting along neutral axis. So I am writing this expression like this. Shear flow at point D will be equal to shear flow at point C, because total shear flow coming at point C should be equal to total shear flow leaving point C. So shear flow at point C with respect to web will be same 421.6, and we just need to add the contribution of shear flow from C to D. Then we will have the total shear flow at point D. So I am computing the shear flow at only from C to D, contribution of shear flow from C to D. So this area is having the length 100, thickness 10 millimeter, and moment arm from the centroid of this area to the neutral axis will be half of this 100, which is 50. So contribution of shear flow from C to D is 153.3. So total shear flow point at point D will be equal to shear flow at point C, which is 421.6. Just like here. And 153.3 is the contribution from C to D. The total shear flow at point D is 574.9. So this will be distribution. Shear flow at start of point C will be 421.6. So total shear flow coming at point C should be equal to shear flow leaving point C. Then if when we are moving from C to D, so the contribution of area from C to D is increasing from 0 to 153. And this contribution 421.6 remain constant because area A, B, C or area from A to C will be remain constant if we are moving from C to D. So contribution of shear flow is increasing from 0 to 153.3 at this point A. And this variation will be parabolic again. Why parabolic? Because this element is parallel to the resisting shear or applied shear. Because when we are moving from C to D, both moment arm will change and length of area will change with constant thickness. So since cross section is symmetrical about x-axis, so shear flow on the other side will also be the same. So that is the complete shear flow diagram. So we are having three diagram over here. Direction of shear flow will shown with red arrow. Distribution of shear flow with shown with their values, and this is the force diagram. Actually, force diagram you can convert this shear flow into resisting shear force. What are the units for shear flow? Force acting per unit length. It means that if we multiply this average shear flow by the length of the element, we can convert into force. If you have plotted this diagram by the concept of shear stress, then average shear stress from A to B multiplied by the area from A to B. The answer will be remain same. Okay, average means that shear flow from point A to B is parabolic. So we will convert into average value or an equivalent rectangular. How we can convert? Just like this, just see here. So I have converted this parabolic distribution into uniform distribution. So area of this rectangular is equal to area of this parabolic portion. So in this case, let's suppose we are having, just understand, first I will explain this. We are having this rectangular which is having any area, maybe 1. So if I sketch a diagonal, so I have converted this rectangular into 2 portions. So area of this triangle will be half of this triangle. Or if this dimension I am considering as a 1, and this dimension I am considering as a b, maybe width. And this area is equal to 1, and this is p value. So then area of this triangle, because this will be 1 and this will be 1. So this width will be equal to b by 2, average of this width. So this width of this green line from here to here. So it means that area of this triangle is also equal to half. So if I cut some material from here and place over here, then this average distribution will have the b value equal to half, or average 0 plus this by 2. I can show you this. So this is equal to this value, and this value, let me sketch this arrow. That will be more convenient. So you can say that this dimension is equal to b, and this area, this dimension will be equal to b by 2, because both will have the same area. So I'm converting into the equivalent width. But similarly, for example, again, if we are having this rectangular, now we are have sketched this parabola. So area under this parabola is 2 by 3, and area above this parabola is 1 by 3. So if I can convert this rectangular into 2 portions, this area is 2 by 3 and this is equal to 1 by 3. So this dimension is constant, so it means that, so equivalent area, this area which is marked with the green line, and area under this parabola, under this red line, they have same area, but the width of this parabola, which is a equivalent rectangular which is having the area equal to the parabola, that will have the equivalent width 2 by 3. So we can convert into the average or equivalent value by multiplying with 2 by 3 of this b value. So we are converting this area into the equivalent width. The same concept is used over here. So I can convert this shear distribution of shear flow into the shear force. So I am marking or I am designating the shear force which is produced from V to A and G to F as a V2 and V3. Since the length of AB and GF is same, they are undergoing same distribution. So it means that value of V2 and V3 will also be same. So average shear flow on portion A to B multiplied by the length, because units are Newton per millimeter. So average shear flow multiplied by the length of segment, we can convert it. So if I multiply the 115 by 2 by 3, so I can determine the equivalent width or a uniform thickness or uniform distribution of shear flow. So 115 multiplied by 2 by 3, because that is parabola. So 115 multiplied by 2 by 3 to convert into the average shear flow multiplied by 50, because length from A to B is 50. Newton per millimeter multiplied by millimeter, answer will be Newton. And if you are dividing by 1000, so you can convert into kilonewton. So just like I have shown. Okay. मुझे थोड़ी सी चेंज करनी चाहिए एनिमेशन. Yes, there. That is the average thickness, because area of this parabola and area of this rectangle will be same. Similarly, shear force from C to B and from F to E will be same, and direction of the force will be same as of the direction of the shear flow that we have sketched over here. So if you multiply over here, average shear flow from B to C with the length from B to C, you can convert into shear force. So average means you can take the average of this vertical ordinate, because area of the trapezoidal is average of their vertical ordinate. 115 plus 421.6 divided by 2 is the average vertical ordinate, multiplied by the length from C to B and divided by 1000 to convert into kilonewton. The answer will be 26.83. So you can convert it into this force. And now rest is we need to determine the shear flow in this web. So total length of the web multiplied by the average shear flow in the entire web. So you can split up this distribution of shear flow into two parts. One part is uniform rectangular and other is this parabola. And here, this is already uniform 421.6. We just can convert 153.3 into the average thickness or average distribution. So this width area of this rectangle will be equal to this parabolic portion. So 421.6 is constant. Just if you multiply this ordinate amplitude 153.3 by 2 by 3, then we can convert so we can convert into the average distribution. So average width will be 421.6 plus 2 by 3 of 153.3. So the length from C to E is 200 divided by 1000 to convert into kilonewtons. So answer is 104.76 p1. Okay, now you can plot the force diagram. In this force diagram, you can show the value of V1. So H1, because this is H1, H2, they are same. V2, V3, and this will be the applied force which is acting in downward direction. So we are assuming that P should be acting on the left side because we want to determine the location of point O, which is the shear center from the center of web. Because the internal forces in projected portion and in flanges, they tend to produce the movement in clockwise direction. So force should be acting on such side that it should produce the counterclockwise movement equal to the movement produced by this internal resisting forces. So I have considered on left side from the center of the web. So if you will apply this mission Fx is equal to 0, so this H1, H2, they are having same magnitude, so they will be cancelled out. If you will apply mission Fy equal to 0, so V1 is upward, V2 and V3 they are acting downward direction, and their algebraic summation should be equal to 0. So answer will be approximately equal to 0. Or sometimes you may have the error around 5% that can be ignored. Because why we are having the error? Because that may be due to the rounding of the values, or also the reason because we are considering that the contribution of the shear flow across thickness is equal to 0 or constant. Okay, next, I will always suggest you to consider this mission of movement produced by all forces about center of the web equal to 0. You can also consider, you can also take this mission of movement produced by all forces about at this point O equal to 0. But it is always better to consider in the center because V1 value that you have computed that may have some rounding error, but this P is a constant value which is the given value. So P force will produce the movement about point D in counterclockwise side, and movement arm is E, which is the location of shear center. And this force H1, it is having the movement arm with respect to point D as a 100. And this H2 is also having the moment arm 100. So instead you can consider any one force multiplied by the total distance between two forces, that is 200. Or you can write H1 into 100 plus H2 into 100. Answer will be the main thing. And these forces are producing the clockwise movement, so answer is negative. Similarly, force V2, it will have the moment arm from this center line to the center of this force as 100. So V2 into 100, and V2 is producing the movement also in clockwise direction, negative. V3 will also produce the movement in clockwise direction, that is also negative. So only unknown value is E. By solving this equation, you can determine the value of E. So E will come out to be 46 millimeters. Okay, by mistake during computation, if you have considered the P force on the other side, so magnitude of the answer will be same, but you will have the negative sign. So it means that you have considered the force on the wrong direction. Don't need to recompute the value, just write down the comment that place the force on the opposite side. So in this way, you can compute the location of shear centers by computing the values of the shear flow and shear forces. So these are the follow-up problems, not to submit it. So actually, these are the assignment you can are not to be submitted, but actually the assignment, these are the context that what type of the examination you may expect. So you may expect the similar question as mentioned in this assignment. So only those students will be able to attempt the paper properly who have practiced this problem. So any student, if someone is having any question, he can raise the hand. Okay, please raise the hand, the student who are present. The students who are present, please raise the hand. So, Mr. Abdul Rafe, CR,
Yes, sir.
CR, can you hear me? ये आपने जितने भी पुराने केसेस हैं जो रोल नंबर एब्सेंट है उनको आपने लिखा हुआ है ना?
Yes, sir.
अगर आपने मुझे वो सारे केस कंपाइल ना करके दिए तो आपके -5 नंबर हो जाएंगे, ठीक है? आज ये डेट में ये रोल नंबर लिखो, एक अब्दुल राफे, ये ये क्या मुगन्निम, ये शुरू में भी नहीं था, ये भी नहीं है, ये नुशान, ये भी नहीं है, सलमान मुगल, ये भी नहीं है, और ये हसन सुबहान, ठीक है? ये रोल नंबर लिखने आते हैं. Okay, I will stop here. So inshallah I will start the lecture next